All right. I'm David.
I am Jim.
This is Max.
This is Terry.
Zach Ballard here.
This is a little Ozzy.
Ozzy,
Good age, and we already messed it up.
Yeah,
how is Sharon doing tonight?
About 90. You know what? That wasn't funny. She's been really good to us.
Yeah.
As a band. And
Oh
me.
yeah, the real Sharon.
Wonderful, man. Just don't get real close to her.
All right, Sharon, because we know you're watching.
I hope
I'm
so.
sure she is.
All right, so tonight we've got the band, the whole band, Little Ozzy. And so we've got Max, Terry, Little Ozzy, of course, and Zach, the new drummer. So Zach, being the new drummer, you're the new guy. I got to tell you right now, you could have told me that and I still wouldn't have been able to tell. I mean, I think, second or so song towards the last, Little Ozzy said, yeah, this is the new guy. And he pointed you out and I was like, fuck, you were dead on like a machine and you were hitting them hard, but I've seen a lot of hard hitters, man. You've got some fucking tone there.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. What show did you see? Was it Boathouse?
Yeah, Boathouse Live.
Cool. Yeah, that one was a little better. I had one show under my wing, so you're always a little more confident after one show. But thank you so much for the compliment, man. I love playing Ozzy songs. It's perfect for my style, and I am a fan, so I feel like I fit right in, and it was an easy transition for me, and it's only going to get better. I'm going to keep working and trying to beat the drums even harder. So, but thank you for the compliment, man. I appreciate that very much.
Well, you and Terry, you guys were locked in so tightly. And tell me, Terry, you've been doing this for a while. I've seen pictures of you with Little Ozzy going a while back. So, how is it working? I mean, you've worked with how many drummers, and is it hard for you because you're not in the same city even sometimes?
Well, as far as with me and Zach, fortunate enough, we do live in the same city. The thing about Zach that I do like is I love double bass. And there was some things before that, was kind of missing, and he's bringing it, he brings it. And so to me, it makes it easier to lock in with a drummer. And plus, Zach's a pro. I knew when I mentioned Zach to the guys that he was going to be able to step in and just nail it with no problems.
The crazy thing, not to interrupt you, Terry, but I feel like I should tell this story because so I had a gig. Our first gig was actually Wednesday at Richmond, and I had a gig Tuesday night here in Nashville with a different band that I was committed to, and I couldn't get out of the gig because I had already committed to it. And so I literally finished that gig up at 2 a.m., drove to meet Terry. We loaded my drums in his little Murano in the freezing cold and drove all night. And my first gig, we literally had no sleep, man, and there was no rehearsal. And then you guys caught, I guess, the second show at the Boathouse.
Yeah.
But hey, that's how we do it, man. That's how we do it.
You would not have known it. So Max, and I'm coming to the star of the show at last, but Max,
That was Max.
I gotta say, dude, you were killing it.
Brother.
So how long have you been with the band?
I've been with the band since February.
So you were like 12 when you joined the band.
That's right, man. That's right. And I had 3 years on me since I've been in the band.
That's got to be tough. I mean, how were your parents with that? I mean, you were out. I say you were out late. I mean, my parents didn't care. They didn't even like me. But I mean, no. But you're out. You're doing your thing. I mean, you guys didn't end until after midnight, and then we were doing all the selfies and.
That's right.
How is that for you?
They're definitely, the most supportive people in my life. They're very supportive and, help any way they can. And, I love it.
We love it.
And contrary to what Turi will tell you, when we were getting rid of our, old guy, I had seen Zach play opening up for Vince Neil with his old band, and he did a solo, and I'm like, oh God, this is the type of guy we need. And I called Turi up, and that's his name. It's not Terry, by the way. It's Turi. Turi Hudgens.
Yeah. Okay.
It's that Nashville accent.
That's it.
And I said, man, this is the guy we need to get as a fill-in. And then it, just kind of escalated, and here we are.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, brother.
Man, you guys are killing it. So, Little Ozzy, we need you to come a little bit closer to the mic because we could barely hear you there for a second ago. But so you're the man. Did you create this band? I mean, were these guys you sought out and you were like, this is going to be my band? Is that how it worked?
A long time, and there's a lot of misconception. When you start, what it was I was a midget Kiss fan for a while. It wasn't real. It was glorified karaoke. And I was the tallest one in the band. So what happened was I just kind of saw what they did and watched the band did how they did it. I was like, man, everybody kept saying you sound like Oz, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get a real band. It's not gonna be no bullshit, and I think it could be huge. And it literally takes. What happens is, if you've been playing for years and years, Terry can vouch for this. Some of the older guys can, Max will as well. You know what you want, but trying to find 4 guys, you can find 4 musicians. The bass player's a prick, or the drummer's a prick, or the bass player, or the guitar player's a drug addict. Or, it never seem to find 4 guys that are like best friends, that are positive, that are bad-ass musicians. And I've come close a few times, but you know what? I get goosebumps when I start talking about Max and Zach and Terry because it's a dream come true right now. I'm so fucking, I can't say that, right? So excited about what we're doing and what's going on right now because this is it. This is the lineup. And I got goose. I almost cried watching Soundcheck. Literally got choked up and had to turn around because I had goosebumps, hair standing on the back of my neck when I just saw Terry on his bass monitor wailing it. Max over there just ripping hair everywhere. And Zach's arms, you couldn't even see him, man. And they were playing the music. And I'm like, oh man, it's just, this is it. Look out because it's happening, man.
I got to tell you, so watching you on stage, I'm going to assume that you're probably one of the closest to the oldest members of the band.
Yeah.
You have energy to spare. So many bands are phoning it in, and all obviously it's Little Ozzy. You could just say, here I am, like you said, with Little Kiss or one of those bands like that. I could see that. I've seen them before, and it was I was kind of let down that they weren't musicians. And so when I saw you and I listened to you sing, and I said, God, man, these guys are pulling off, and you were incredible. And you were just like Ozzy. When it was Max's and Terry's turn to be shining, and even with the drum solos, Zach, you don't see drum solos very often that actually are good. It just – tell me more about that. Tell me, how do you get that?
How did I get what? I'm sorry. It was breaking up the last.
Yeah, I was breaking up on my end too. How do you get what?
The main question.
Jim, you're cutting out again.
Yeah, I'm muted there.
Oh.
So no, what I was saying is, during the show, you had so much energy, and you really were like personifying Ozzy. And when it was the time for the other guys to shine, you let them shine. Everybody got a solo. Everybody. I call their names out 100 times a night. I've always told myself, when I was in Minikiss, man, I was treated very badly. I was ripped off. They were crooks. And I told God, if you let this happen, I'm never going to do these guys like this. They're going to get a great cut. And that's just the way it's going to be from day forward. If we increase, their money goes. So, and I'm one that, it's not about practice. It's all about me.
somebody came up to me at a Raleigh show, the first one in town, and it was an older guy, and he said, "Man, I just want to talk for a second, man. Got a second?" He said, "I just want to give you some props here for you're taking some of your spotlight and you're giving a child something that he's dreamed about, and he dreams of becoming, and you're sharing that. And you can right I am because that what these hard-headed people don't understand. It's giving. If you want this back, you want this to work. You can't be selfish. You give, you help, and it comes right back to you. And I've always done that, and I believe that's why we're as successful as we are right now. As far as the energy goes, like I have PCP behind the drums. I have crystal meth to the left side of the stage, well kept away from Max, and a lot of cocaine backstage. So yeah. I would say I have a hard time sleeping. I've lost 50 pounds since America's Got Down. And I'm pretty high strung anyway. So yeah, this time you're older, man, you can't be tired. And I must suck down probably 700 milligrams of caffeine before I even get out there. So yeah, we have a blast, man.
Yeah. I saw you were drinking water all night, man.
Got to.
If you like caffeine, you might like Death Wish coffee.
I'm an absolute caffeine freak myself, man. I'm like always coffee, energy drinks.
While we're on the subject, my wife, she introduced me to Death Wish. She got it for me for Christmas, right? So then I got the subscription, and I've been drinking it ever since. But she has discovered a coffee that can make you see time, and that is called Biohazard coffee. And apparently, it is the most caffeinated thing that she's ever had. So,
dude, I'm going to order that shit as soon as we hang up here.
That's wild as a Death Wish coffee.
Yes, the Valhalla Java. It's good stuff. I've had it several times.
Biohazard, is that what you said?
The Biohazard's the super caffeinated one.
That's a super, okay.
Yeah, and apparently it's very bitter too, but I mean, if it's coffee, it's going to be bitter,
Right. Cool.
So
I can't stand that world. Heart palpitation. It's so fast. I'm like, all right, I'm done with caffeine. Then I feel like,
yeah.
Max, there he is.
So Max, you're the 15-year-old prodigy, kind of guitar playing, awesome dude as far as the band goes. I mean, when people think of Ozzy, they think of and you nailed it with the Zakk Wylde stuff, with the Jackie Lee stuff, with the obviously the Randy Rhoads stuff, and of course back in the days of Paranoid and stuff with the Black Sabbath thing. So tell us a little bit more about tell us about your coming up as a musician and because you're 15. I mean,
right.
Did you start real young, or you?
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, I want to ask you, who is Randy Rhoads? Oh, I'm messing with you.
Yeah,
I was gonna say
you had me there. I was like,
no, man. It's I grew up with music in the family. Of course, like my dad, he played a lot of acoustic. I always see the guitars on the walls and such. And he bought me a guitar when I was like 8. Tried to get me to take lessons. I'm just like, nah, I don't want to do this. And they were like, you really need to do it. You really need to do it. And I was like, no. And so they kept trying to get me to do it. Finally, they were like, okay, you don't have to do it anymore. And then like a year later, I'm like, wait, I'm going to try this. And I started, going to these little like blues open mics. I saw them doing it, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it a couple weeks. And I went and I played a song. And then, I just kept going and going. I started hitting other ones. And then I joined actually my first band was a local Ozzy tribute. And, when I was doing that, Lin got a video of them. And that's when, we got hooked up and everything.
So that's how you found him, Ozzy, is from video?
Funny deal. He knows him as a buddy of mine, and he sent me a video. He said, check out this kid in Raleigh playing up there playing some Iron Maiden. And I was like, wow, man, rip, man. So I was his biggest fan, man, at the moment. And Max remembers it more accurately. Max emailed me something. Tell him, man.
What'd you say that?
Tell him how that went about. Tony sent me a video of you playing at the Lincoln from Iron Maiden. And then this was like a week before, I think Max had emailed me or something. How did you emailed me and said you saw me on TV?
That's right. I had what had happened was, you know, I was at a club and I was playing. I don't remember what I was playing. I was playing Bark of the Moon. And yeah, and I think Tony had sent the video to him, and it was weird. It was like fate, because like, you know, I was scrolling through my YouTube that day and I saw Little Ozzy, America's Got Talent. And I was like, oh man, I remember this guy, because I had seen him, and I was like 8 at that point. Yeah, and I seen him. I'm like, I wonder what this guy's doing now. So I looked him up on Facebook, and, you know, I got hooked up with him, and I sent him some videos of me playing and stuff. I said, you know, I love what you do, man. You know, you sound like Ozzy a lot. And then he messaged me, said, Tony Deal had sent me your video. Give me a call. And that's, you know.
You know what, Max? And guys, listen to this. Is the craziest part. We've had 40-year-old guitar players, 45-year-old guitar players, guys that have studied forever. And just to get them to come in for an audition, whatever state they're coming from, come in, sit down, and let's go through the set. It's like pulling teeth. Coming in, they know half of them. I promise I have the next one. This kid walked in with hair everywhere, man. I'm like, oh my God, like confidence that would just make you shake. And all right, let's go from the top. Boom, 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 boom. 90 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, it was like, oh my God, this is it, you know? It was incredible. And, you know, a lot of people say this about him. To talk to him, he is not a 15-year-old. He is a 15-year-old trapped in a 35-year-old man's body, because he is so much, you know, and I'm blowing smoke up his ass. Blow his head up.
No, I can attest to that, because when I first joined the band, or, you know, when me and Terry were talking about me coming on board, Max called me, and we had a little chat, and I was going, are you sure you're not 30, dude? Or I'm like, I thought, you know, yeah, very mature.
Well, man, it's something special about him, man. You know, I mean, he knows what he wants, and you know, it reminded me so much of me, because, you know, growing up little like this, you know, I got made fun of a lot. I felt when music came into my life, it was something that I could do to impress the girl. It was something that I could do in front of the school, where the big guys would go, damn, he's cool as shit. You know, that was my thing. And I had a dream in fire, and damn, I'm 50 years old, and it's just starting to happen. So, you know, I'm ready to live another 20 on stage. As long as they have makeup and wig.
Right.
You should listen to our last interview if you like makeup and wigs.
Oh yeah, we did an interview with Mrs. Smith. She was awesome.
Yeah. So
Terry, you were there for. I imagine you were there for that audition with Max. What was that like? Were you there?
Oh, it was cool. Actually, I was there for the guy before him, and believe me, the trip to Virginia for the audition was a lot more pleasant with Max, because, like I said, I mean, we just basically handed him the show and said, learn it. And we went and played the whole show without really stopping for anything other than, you know, a few little endings here and there. But, yeah, man, I mean, it's just, and what I do like about Max is because of his youth, and I was his age once, I used to be able to do a lot of the things he does. But, yeah, believe it or not. But he made us step up our game as far as performing, and, you know, I mean, not that we didn't perform before.
Brings you back. Brings you back.
I mean, because there's nothing worse than seeing one guy pretty much doing all the moving around, you know, and
he definitely doesn't stand still.
No. Well, I mean, you see a lot of this is the one thing I've been preaching since the 80s, that people listen with their eyes. You know, if you're up there having fun, they'll have fun. You know, if you're just standing there, I mean, hell, I don't want to spend 10, 15 bucks to get in and see a bunch of guys standing there. You know? So, yeah, having Matt join this band was a blessing in disguise. Really was.
So thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
So, David, you got a question?
I have many questions. Where do we start? So I haven't seen you guys. I've watched a bunch of YouTube footage. I've seen clips from Jim at the show the other night. How close do you guys try to get in nailing the actual sound of, those old records? Are you literally trying to get the same gear? Are you okay using like modern equivalents? Because I've seen there's a tribute act that I really like, which is called The Musical Box, and they do like the 70s era Genesis stuff. But they've got the costumes and all the gear on stage is like from the 1970s. Half of it doesn't work when they're using it. I mean, it's just it's a nightmare to watch. But I'm just curious as to like how important it is. I know Max. I've seen him with an SG when he does some of the Iommi stuff.
Well,
it's effortless. It's effortless, basically.
Well, my thing is with trying to get as close. Some people. I always get different comments, and some people tell me, oh, you need to play it just like the record. And then, you got others tell me, dude, just do it more your way. It's always flip flop. So I just, the parts that, it's like when Jake got in the band and when Zach got in the band, and even with Gus, none of them played it just like
they left their own sonic stamp on it.
Their own style.
That's right.
And yourself.
Let's say if, even if Ozzy were to get a new guitar player, he wouldn't play it just like anyone else. And that's the way I see it. And, the parts that I feel should be played just like the record or just like, Randy played them live, I play it that way. And the parts that, don't, I don't. And as far as looks, I feel like we all go out as, except for Lin, of course, we all go out as Max Frye and Turi Hudgens. The Nashville Twins.
Turi.
Hey,
Turi was playing a Schecter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Been playing Schecters for 7 years now.
Yeah, and even
remind me.
I would say, to address your question, drumline, like that was an interesting thing for me when I was, the week before I played with these guys and I was plowing through the material and. I'm actually a fan of quite a few of Ozzy's drummers, Randy Castillo.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Tommy Aldridge is one of my absolute favorite drummers. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. Every drummer played a little different. They played their own licks. Every drummer kind of played their own speed, their own little way, own little swagger, And so it's interesting. There's so many different versions, and you got to kind of listen and just decide what works, pick parts from different ones. And I know when some of the Sabbath songs I played with the guys, they were like, whoa, dude, you're playing it fast, and I was used to, if you listen to Tommy Aldridge playing Snowblind in 1982, he's floating, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The record, he's so,
all of them were Snowblind. That's why it was so fast. All of them were Snowblind.
Right.
Yeah.
The funny thing is the Sabbath version is so Snowblind is so slow, and so that's an interesting thing. Listen to the different versions and years of, for me anyways, as a drummer, that's interesting. I was going, man, there's so many different ways this stuff sounds depending on which drummer or guitar player or what have you played with the band, So
right.
So far, are you guys mostly regional, or do you play like all over the states now, or what's the?
As Little Ozzy, our history. I mean, we've played all over the country. We've flown to Iowa, we've done casinos, into the West Coast. Right now we're constantly winter months. Terry said, let's get some more places. We just got 2 Floridas coming down into January. But as far as that goes, keeping control is all about. If we could find an agency that came along that was great and on it, that could get us business, man, we'd be all over the place. But we got a vision. And we know what we're doing. We got right up again. Max is booking the band right now. Max is running Little Ozzy at the current moment. That's how brilliant.
I actually got our calendar here if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I'll plug your dates. Go for it.
So in the next couple weeks, we're heading over to Alabama. Huntsville, we're coming your way. We're playing at Sidetracks Music Hall December 7th. And then in January, we got a couple, weeks off, Christmas and all that. Then in January, we're hitting it again. We're playing the 11th at the Bullcock Swine, and then we're playing the 12th at the DC Tattoo Convention. Those are both in, Virginia and DC.
Right.
And then the 25th, we're heading over to the Kelsey Theater. We're playing then. And what else we got?
Cincinnati was
February 2nd, the big announcement, Nashville, Tennessee, Little Harpeth Brewery. And then the 23rd, we're heading over to St. Louis. And you
forgot January 4th, pending Cincinnati, Ohio, correct?
That's right. We're playing. No, not in Cincinnati. It's we're playing in Chicago at the Cubby Bear.
Oh, really?
Chicago, David.
Yeah, I might have to come out to see you guys.
Oh, where are you from, man?
I'm in the western suburbs of Chicago.
Oh, awesome, dude. And then, February 23rd, we're gonna be in St. Louis at the Casa Loma Ballroom.
Okay, all right. That's in driving distance too.
That's where no women under 5'2" are allowed to even enter. That's a tall one.
That's right. So yeah, that's just our through February, and we're gonna be announcing some more dates soon.
Yeah. If I don't make it down to the Cubby Bear, like next time you guys get into Chicago, I will definitely be there.
Have you been there to the Cubby Bear before?
I think you mentioned you're going to be watching it.
I probably have, to be honest with you. I mean, I've lived in Chicago for the last I think it's going on 23 years now.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've probably been there over the years. I
think it's a pretty nice place, man.
Yeah, no, it is. It's one of the better places in Chicago, honestly, in terms of, like, local bars and stuff and, like, smaller clubs.
Yeah, what I heard was it was where Dave Grohl played one of, like, his first shows or something like that.
Yeah, I believe it.
That's pretty cool.
We got a couple of venues that are kind of, that ilk here. Like we've got like the Metro, which is really famous.
Right.
Where like Smashing Pumpkins and those kinds of bands came out of there. But yeah, Cubby Bear is up and coming right now. And I just saw a show. What the hell is the name of that place? It escapes me, but it's like another smaller like club venue. And I almost went. I don't know if you guys have heard of these guys yet. But I think they're cool as hell. It's a band called Max Sabbath. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yeah, we've heard of them.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I could see you guys ending up on the same bill at some point.
Well, they better not. I'm not going to let them play Black Sabbath if I'm on the stage.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, Lin, you've done then some of the circuit for the casinos, right?
Yes.
So yeah, we'll have to talk later.
Is it because Max is obviously under 21, and a lot of states will allow 18 and up in a bar or working. Is that a challenge for you guys to like find a venue that will?
So far, it's not. Now I don't know what gambling laws are like. I don't know if they can be in there with a parent. I don't know, but a lot
of times it's just a casino where they can't be on. So
we're gonna have to get some permission slips or something going on.
Yeah, so that totally makes sense.
Right now, it's we did look into the laws, and I know venues. The only difference is venues have certain rules, but according to the law, as long as I got a parent with me, it's okay for me to be in a bar, and it's okay for me to not be on the floor of the casino, but
right.
to be in another room of the casino. That's completely legal.
Sure, and that's pretty typical. Like I have family in Las Vegas, and that's like basically the rules out there. The casinos that are here are basically the same deal. The bars are really the ones that have a problem with it around here. I mean, so
yeah,
everybody's been great.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that challenge because when I was young and I had to do it, I had rules of where I could be, and it was similar to what you're talking about. Even in the early 80s, I could only go to the stage and behind it. I couldn't go on the dance floor, and I couldn't go, to the bar area. But they would usually set a little thing up, behind things for, and bring me food or whatever. And there was other stuff that happened back there. But anyway, so
you just gotta say that, don't you?
No, I mean,
I got reality. I got one thing to say.
Yeah.
LittleOzzyRocks.com and MaxFrye.com. Check it
Well,
out.
if we didn't tell you already, anything you want us to post in the show notes or in the comments section on YouTube, let us know. You can send it to us after the show, and we'll make sure it all gets up there so that you guys get.
I just did it for the phone, so I can put the addresses up so I can order them, right?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Terry's got my information. So
Right.
So I was laughing because you guys were. I didn't want to interrupt, but you guys were talking about Snowblind earlier, and for our listeners, if you didn't know, Black Sabbath used to pay someone to follow them around with a briefcase filled with cocaine.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That has a lot to do with songs like
It's
that.
amazing they're still alive.
Yes, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is. All of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Jim, do you even take it away? I know you got more questions. Don't act
Oh,
like
of course I do.
Yeah. Go
So when I was watching you play, Max, you went through an SG, a white Les Paul, and I want to say you had a standard that was like a burst.
That's right.
Did you switch them up for different tunings, or what was the reason for going through the guitars?
No different tunings, actually. It's the main reason I'll switch my guitar is, if I use whammy a lot, I have a top mount Floyd Rose that, no routing for the Les Paul people, so don't freak out.
Is that the FRX?
That's the FRX. That's
All right.
right.
I got to ask you about that thing.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome, man. It plays just like a regular Floyd, but no routing on the guitar, no modification. So I switched to that guitar, whenever I'm doing dive bombs and crazy stuff like that. And, the white Les Paul, I play on a lot of the Randy stuff. And the SG, I just got, actually. And I use that for most of the Sabbath songs.
Yeah, I noticed on Snowblind you stayed with the Les Paul.
Right.
And that was pretty killer. So your amp and stuff were hidden behind the curtain of the Little Ozzy. I'm not sure what that logo is.
Yeah.
That your logo, Lin?
That is actually off of Speaking of the Devil, right?
That's right.
Kind of a mixture. Yeah, the Bats came were on Diary of a Madman. I think. Maybe both. But yeah, Max come up with all that. And it was very, very cool. So yeah, that just kind of gives that eye, like Terry said, man, they come in and they just see Ozzy, they see Ozzy, it makes you more realistic.
Yeah, it was really cool that you had your. I want to say you had a half stack there, but I don't know if you might have had a full stack. But I want to say you had a half stack there, and then you had the Marshall head. Was that a JCM or?
It's a super lead, actually, the JMP.
Man after my own heart.
That's right. And yeah, it was just one cabinet. It's got the greenbacks in there, man. It sounds awesome, I think. And I used
a
couple pedals.
Yeah. I noticed you had a wah up there.
No, it was actually not a wah, man. What it was is a whammy pedal. For when I'm using the white Les Paul and the SG. But it's the whammy DT too. So when I'm playing Snowblind, I can drop the tuning, because that's in C sharp.
Right. See, you do what I do, because I've been doing that for a long time. Where if I have to play a song in a flat tuning, I just turn on the whammy pedal and turn the amp up so I can't hear my normal strings.
That's right.
I'm too lazy to tune the guitar to flat tuning because all my guitars have floating bridges on them. So it's like exactly. I'm not gonna do that.
No, exactly, man. That's right.
I will tell you that the Boathouse did a good job with y'all's sound. It was really good.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, than I do. That wasn't even the Boathouse. Their sound guy dumped out on us at the last minute. This guy did our sound before in Hampton. I don't remember his name, and I'm ashamed to even say that. But he's one of the best sound guys we've experienced on the road. What do you think, Terry?
Yeah, off-road, definitely. This guy, he definitely knows how to dial in drums for sure. And and they had a guy. The cool thing about these guys is they actually had a guy practically stood on stage the whole time with our monitors. I mean, I had no monitor issues at all. I could hear everything.
That was amazing. I'll tell you, that's one of the blessings of having a good sound crew, and those guys were as pro as it gets. But when you have a good monitor system and you can hear what's going on, man, it makes your life easier. And those guys did a great job with the monitors, for sure.
Yeah,
the sound was killer.
Yes, it was.
We've definitely covered it on the show before, like talking about, the monitoring system and how important it is to like getting a good performance. I can say honestly, like Jim was talking about you guys' sound to me specifically, and I had just seen a show like 2 weeks before. I'd seen Cannibal Corpse with like 3 other metal bands, and it was so funny because the 3 other bands, like it was pretty clear they had whoever sound guy was mixing the whole venue, and then the Cannibal Corpse came out and they sounded like 10 times better than everybody else, and it was pretty clear that they either had their own sound guy or that it was just all coming off the stage with their amplification, which is entirely possible. They had 4 full stacks on stage.
So I got the mazes. Those things are stupid loud, man.
Yeah, I'm a Mesa player myself, and
I got you.
Even if you're doing that, like it's still make or break in a venue, especially the venue where they were at is like dual, had a balcony and all that stuff, and like there's a lot of acoustic problems in places like that.
Of
where
course.
you
did they sound a whole lot louder when you heard them? Did they come really loud and clear?
Yeah, that was exactly.
That's an old '80s trick too. They do what they do is the opening bands they never cut the stuff, and they wouldn't give the greatest sound. And then when the big guys come out on the stage, they fire those big.
Yeah, but the other thing is there's 4 times as much amplification on stage compared to the other bands. Like everybody else is playing half stacks, and then these guys come out with 2 full stacks per guitar player.
Well, just so you know, we also have, like, Max will use 2 full stacks, and I've got 2 complete 6x10 peg rigs. But the trick to all that is not cranking it all up.
Right.
Let the PA do its job.
Yeah, get the headroom going. So
we're loud, aren't we? You got to play the shit loud. It's metal, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be loud.
Yeah, damn right.
But he's right.
My ears rang until yesterday.
Nice.
It was awesome.
I was not hardcore enough to have earplugs with him at all times.
I didn't. So my buddy asked me, he goes, "Where's Max's amps?" I said, "It's right behind that curtain. You can't see them." I said, "But we were in the VIP area." I'll say this: the boathouse, it's better to be on the floor than the VIP area. Honestly, the VIP area is awful. You got everything's in your way. They say it's an unobstructed view. It's a terrible view. Instead, I went right up in front of Terry, and I was shooting some video. Terry, I showed you that video, right?
I pointed at it.
Yeah, everything. And man, you were fucking rocking it. You were just killing it. And of course, Lin was killing it, Max was killing it, Zach. But I was standing on the subs, and when Zach and Terry would hit those notes, those things together, my feet were literally vibrating, and my pants were blowing. Like
I was just going to ask, did your pant legs blow? Because that's the best feeling in the world. So, quick question, and it's going to be a stupid one, but it's just more for the audience sake than the amount. You guys play loud, right, on stage. Do you guys wear ear protection?
No.
I do. Yes, I haven't always.
Mark guys do.
I do now, and now I'm so reliant on it that it actually sounds like I'll freak out if I don't have earplugs. I've got to go get them because I actually hear everything better. I play better. I play in a more relaxed state with the earplugs in it because I can really like hammer away, and it's not like ow every time I hit my snare. You know what I'm saying? So
smart.
Just for the listeners, when I was there watching Zach, his arm would go all the way up to all the way down. When he would hit that snare, it was like he was beating, a child.
There's a little Keith Moon going on.
Yeah, he had.
But therapy, man, it really is. I swear, people say some people go, dude, what's wrong with you, man? But I'm sure everybody in the band that, you know, or anybody who plays music can relate to that. But there's something therapeutic about it. And it's like sometimes I'll feel literally like stressed out or kind of off or something. I'll be like, what's wrong with me? And then I'll go play a show and then I'll feel great. I'll be like, oh, that was it. I haven't played a show in a week or two or whatever.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
I take my problems out on my drums.
That's right.
it's better than taking them out on people.
That's
I'm in
right.
therapy for that.
So to answer your question, I did not wear ear protection until I got in this band, and I see Terry, and every time I talk to him, I go, huh?
Yeah.
And I still to this day do not wear ear protection. And I pop my ears so I can hear it even louder. It's just a preference. It's a preference thing. I put earplugs in and it seems to muffle everything, and I don't like it.
No, it definitely does, especially if you don't. So like you can have custom made plugs.
That's what I got. Yeah.
And those help a lot, especially for the clarity thing. But
Right.
Ultimately, you're still stuffing something in your ears. I mean,
Right.
There's
And
no
I just don't care for that. You know, I like my eardrums to ring when I'm done. Yeah.
So Lin, do you wear in-ears? Are you using in-ears? Because it's hard to tell because you are wearing a wig, right? That black hair is a wig.
I tried to use earplugs when I was younger and hated them, and I still don't. And to this day, my high end's gone. Mac, same way. I can't hear shit. So it's smart to wear them. It really is.
Well, a lot of singers don't because it's like they can hear themselves better without them.
You're right. A lot of times I'll do this and clock, but I can't hear good or just to get that note,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I put my finger in my ear. And then
You were. I gotta say, you were killing it vocally. You were nailing it.
Thank you. I'm very lucky.
A lot of times, so I've got the recordings that I made. I probably recorded at least a little bit of every single song that you guys did. And usually you see these Facebook Live recordings. We've all seen it. They're awful. The sound sounds like, it's just this mess. And I was telling Terry, I said, I don't know how I did it because I was standing right on top of the sub, but I got some killer sound considering the fact that it came from a cell phone and killer video. And I can say this, that usually afterwards you listen back, you go, oh, that's bad. That show that you did stands up. I mean, literally, that's why I was so surprised when Zach, when you said you were in there, that was your only second gig, and Max, you've only been in for a few months. It's just incredible to hear how really tight and precise you guys were together as a band.
It's the guys. It is the guys.
No rehearsal either. No rehearsal.
That's
See,
right.
Jim, I told you don't need to rehearse.
Right, man.
Homework.
That's really cool to hear that it was that good.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I want to ask you something. What song really stood out?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. It's hard for me to pick a favorite. I loved Crazy Train, which was, I think, your last song, right? I loved Snowblind. I loved Mama, I'm Coming Home. I mean, everybody loved Mama, I'm Coming Home. It was so, Lin, you got right in people's faces. You were right there. You're not that guy that's like, oh, I'm going to keep, this us, you. You were right there with everybody, and you brought the microphone out. You were just killer as far as.
That's the best part of it.
Right.
Meet people and see them all and talk to them all. And, we're big on that. When we're done, we tell them, don't go nowhere. We're coming out there with you guys. We're going to take pictures. We're going to hang out. And that's what we're all about. They're the ones that are giving us this joy.
Yeah, I posted one of those selfies that as we were taking our selfie, people were joining in. And so I actually had it in my phone. I have there's just us. Then there's Max. There's Terry and Zach. Then there's 18 people.
Yes, it seemed like more and more people kept getting. They were like, "Oh, it's a picture," and they kept getting it. It was funny.
Awesome.
Do you guys change the set every night? Like, do you pick different songs?
No. Every once in a while, Lin will say, okay, we're going to do this one instead, just for effect. But
or if I'm really getting through a hard time, and let's say War Pigs is so much easier to sing than let's say Sato or something, I'd be like, dude, I cannot do that one right now. Can we go here and do that? I'll kind of,
you're moving around the set, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
They did your favorite song, David. They did Barry's Got Boots.
Oh, I like that song, but I also like Over the Mountain. That's my favorite Ozzy song.
We do the solo. That's in my Spotlight solo.
Yeah, I believe it, because that solo is titanically good.
So yeah, I was about to ask you all one at a time when you're doing your solos. Let's start with Terry, go to Zach, and finish with Max. As far as this goes, so how do you pick what you want to do during your solo, and how do you guys know? Okay, the solo started. Now it's done. It's time for me to come back on. How does that go? Because everybody.
As far as bass is concerned, Ozzy's bassist never really had a per se solo, but we do NIB, and which we didn't do it at the show you were at, but Geezer had just a small like bass solo intro to that song,
right.
And that I guess that would be considered my solo, but But it just, we're trying to keep it true to form as far as the whole Ozzy and Black Sabbath thing. So I don't really come out and do a solo. It's not that I couldn't. It's just I don't feel like it's necessary or appropriate because of the fact we're trying to keep this true, and it's not necessary for a bass solo. But the NIB intro, I do that. But and that's all I need, man.
See, that's team player right there, man.
Well, Terry, what I always tell you a bass player is, man.
We're the pretty. I think you said we were the prettiest guy in the band and stand out the most.
Oh, I don't know, man. I see some ugly ass bass players.
What I always tell Terry is a bass player is a decoration, man.
Yeah. So he told it a different way.
Yeah.
I love his lesson.
So Zach, what about your solo? Because you did one as well.
Yeah, I guess structurally, well, in the set I do the solo after Sweet Leaf, and that's that's where the guys said that they traditionally do it, or where we would do it. As far as what I do in the solo, I'm mostly improvising, but there's somewhat of a structure. I try to come out with a lot of energy at first, kind of reminiscent of like how Tommy Aldridge would do his. I usually start out with double bass, and I kind of just do whatever comes to mind on top of a steady double bass pattern, like 16th notes. And then I'll kind of bring it down and kind of have a middle section where, I sort of bring it down somewhat. And then I try to build it back up at the end. And that's basically my idea for doing it. And within that, I'm always doing different stuff every night. It's a little different every time I do a drum solo. It's not like I'm going to do this exact lick. I kind of go to a different place and I don't really know what happens. And I mean, sometimes people even come up to me and they're like, "Hey dude, that was like, 8 minutes long or something." And I'm like, "What? Really? Holy shit."
You're like, "What was your favorite part?" And then they tell you, you're like, "I don't remember that. I have to listen to the tape."
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I'll watch it back and I'll be like, "Man, that was a good one. I was on that night." Or sometimes, it's like, and sometimes I'll watch stuff back and go, "Oh, that lick wasn't as cool as I thought it was." Or then you'll do something and you go, "Oh, that lick was, I don't even remember doing that, but that was cool. I'm going to have to remember that one." You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
Which recording is a great tool. And I know Terry is big on that. He records all the shows, and
That's right.
And recording is great to go. I found it's an awesome tool to go back and kind of figure out, what, not only in the songs but in the solos, what is cool and what works and what doesn't. And but I'd say that's the basic idea for me, structure-wise, is to come out with energy, bring it down, and then just take it to all the way up at the end, you know.
Crescendo.
Crescendo, grand crescendo.
Now, what about you, Max? Because you were talking about your solo earlier. How do you choose that? Because and the one thing I do want to say is when Max was playing his solo, he was not just standing in one spot staring at his shoes. I've got video of that. I'll post that.
It looked a bit like Zach Wilde.
Yeah, he was killing it. So tell us a little bit about. Yeah, he looks like a young Zach.
Yeah, you do actually. That's when I was like, oh, that's interesting. An Ozzy cover band where they got the guy looking like Zach instead of Randy. Like that's
yeah.
Right. Well, man, you know, but the intro to my solo is, you know, one of the parts. The intro is one of the parts that always kind of stays the same. You know, and mine is kind of like the way Randy did it, but at the same time, it's not. So I took a couple licks from Randy's solo, and you know, a couple little pentatonic things that, you know, Zach would do and stuff like that. And you know, the rest of it is just me. You know, whatever I feel like doing. And as far as length, you find me someone that can pull off a 10-minute solo guitar wise that, you know, besides Eddie Van Halen, I'll give you $10 right now.
Cam can do it. Cam said he can do it, man. Easy, man.
Hey, come on, man.
Jakey Lee can do it.
Right, of course.
I don't know if I pulled it off, but I've sure played some 10-minute guitar solos in front of people before.
Right.
I'm lucky to get 30 seconds.
The last time I went to a jam night, I got up and they were like, "Oh, what song do you want to play?" I'm like, "Let's just go for it." So I start playing, and of course the whole band kicks in, and it went on for like 7 or 8 minutes before they were like, "Hey, let the other guy have a solo." I'm like, "Oh yeah, whoops."
Man.
Yeah, we're not saying that David was grandstanding.
No, actually, I let the guy pick the other 2 songs. So,
well, yeah. But yeah, I feel like when you kind of get a feel for, okay, let me call it because, you know, I go by, you know, always leave people wanting more, you know, like
right.
as much as I love Zach, man, when he goes out there and does that, you know, 20-minuter where he's walking out in the audience, that's the quietest part of the show, man. And that's it's cool, but it is what it is, man.
I think for a lot of audience goers,
can I say something?
Oh, sure.
Just being a smart ass. Max just hit a good point too. We are very aware and cautious of keeping the audience, and these guys are incredible with that because, you know, you can lose the audience. You play a song that's not great, it's time for a piss break. It's time to go outside and smoke a cigarette. And it's
right.
Yeah.
That's what I was just about to say, Lynn, is as soon as I'm doing my solo, if I see someone go outside, smoke a cigarette, I'm done. That's it.
I tell you, so Max, I was noticing that you.
Did we lose Terry here?
Yeah, he'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back, I'm sure.
When you went to do your when you were doing your solo, you made eye contact, whether you wanted to or not. I know that sometimes on stage, what you actually see is a bunch of like cloudy faces, but you were making eye contact with these people, and there were a couple times I was like, hey,
he's looking.
I'm just out here taking videos of you. It's okay, but no, it was. But seriously though, you were right there contacting the people. I was the guy that yelled out. Somebody said, I think it was Lynn said his somebody thinks he's beautiful or something like that. I said, oh yeah, his mom thinks he's beautiful.
Oh.
Because I was just saying that all mothers think their kids are beautiful when they're that age.
But Max,
I think your mom was there, so.
Yeah, you were.
It was just,
that's right. Well, no, with the whole eye contact thing, you know, I feel like, you know, make somebody feel like they're part of the show. You know, but don't make them just feel like, you know, another person who, I don't know.
That's another thing I love about Max. I remember as a kid growing up seeing these guys that were just so charismatic, and so into everybody in the audience, and so into their faces. You know, Max is that guy, man. It's amazing.
Well, it's cool to see that at such a young age because that's usually a learned skill, to be completely honest.
He's a natural. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
yeah, especially at that age. It's like most people your age are just, they're hiding. They're like, don't look at me, you know, and then,
or they're over the top with it, and like
right.
it doesn't feel genuine, because that's the opposite. And like a lot of people don't think about that, but we've all seen somebody who's like overtly putting themselves out there, and it's almost like reverse charisma at that point.
It looks for
Dude, was that a rat that ran by?
Where, in my house?
Oh, his cat.
No, I have multiple giant cats. No, they're not.
There he goes.
That's my cat Merle, named after the guy from The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
So that did look like a rat.
Yeah, he acts like a rat too, frankly. No, so
About that, I know that was, you can edit that out. But.
oh no, we're going to talk about this because everybody's done an interview on the show has seen my cats at some point. Usually they're up on the table, like trying to get in front of me.
Okay.
So that's Merle. And I have another one, Michonne. They're both named after Walking Dead characters. Everybody who's listening to the show knows this. But the funny thing is, they're scavengers, like really bad. And I have a Chipotle tin sitting here, and I'm surprised one of the cats isn't up here trying to get it right now. Like,
So you're a big Walking Dead fan?
I used to be, like the show. I'm still a big comic book fan. I read the comic books,
Right.
but the show is it's getting dated and it's getting a little tired. But
I did a special. Well, I got to be in a video with another fan, and one of the cast members in the video was from The Walking Dead. Lee Vervoigt, I think is his name.
Yeah, it doesn't ring a bell.
But he was in. I think he was in the earlier episodes. But he's a really, really cool dude, man.
Yeah, I mean, there have been so many great actors that have graced that show, and a lot of musical talent and stuff who've been zombies on the show.
Yeah. Who was it? Not Slayer. It was Anthrax.
Yeah, Scott Ian from Anthrax.
I
think he's been a zombie more than once.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
and then
Hey, you wanted some zombies? You could have came and got me and Zach on that Wednesday night gig. We were 36 hours, dude. 36 hours straight.
all we need to do is put the lenses in your eyes and we're ready to rock. You know,
Man.
so
Crazy, man. Crazy.
I mean, I barely remember playing the show, and I'm not even kidding. I mean, I really barely remember playing Wednesday night.
I'll tell you what, when we got to the Waffle House, Terry and Zach were about punch drunk, man. Like, I was looking at Zach, I'm like, man, are you okay? Because he was like,
he's like propping himself up on the table, like
he was like so tired when he was in the car, and then as soon as he got to the Waffle House, he was like all like fidgety. I'm like, man, what's going on?
We did a bar gig one time, and the bass player I was playing with, I don't know how long he had been awake, but I'll tell you, when he was on stage, he was doing this while he was playing, like kind of nodding off. And then as we left, I helped him load out, and he was driving in the car next to us, and I pulled up alongside him, and I look over, and he's like, just falling asleep at the wheel. Like he was making a left, and he completely fell asleep. It was hysterical.
I don't know. That's kind of scary. We had a bass player. It's a sad ending to a story. We had a bass player. He packed all his stuff in and drove home. When he stopped, his head, the head from his gear, went into there and just knocked him and killed him. He died. Yeah, and he lived for
now. You make me feel like a dick.
I know. He lived for like 3 weeks and life support and stuff.
That's
and
terrible.
It was terrible. So make sure when you put your shit in the car, I'm telling you, make sure that stuff is locked in.
Yeah, I always put my stuff.
Here's another story for you. Okay,
so keep that in mind, buddy.
I guess it's a good thing we made it.
Yeah, because when we made that trip up there, like I said, we crammed a bass rig and a whole complete drum kit in a Murano. And I mean,
literally taking out the spare tire.
It was fucked up.
You can put the bass drum in there where the spare tire goes. It's fine.
Yeah.
Dude, I had to take all the drums out of the cases, and I usually don't like to travel like that.
Yeah.
I looked at the car and we were just like, man, there's no way this is going to happen unless we, take these drums out of the cases.
Oh my God.
It was an adventure.
Yeah, it was.
We got to watch out for the heads, apparently.
Terry, you brought you had that Schecter, you pretty much played that Diamond Series all night long. Do you have a backup that you bring with you, or do you just?
I actually have that was a C4 Triple X. You know, it's got the stripper inlays.
Yep.
I have 2 of those, and I've also got a Blackjack ATX that I use. But man, like I said, I've been playing Schecter for 7 years. I like the way they feel. I like the tone from it. Of course, you know, a lot of my tone comes from the way I actually hit my strings, and I use heavy gauge strings, which a lot of guys that play bass don't use anymore. But I have to because I hit my strings really hard.
So what are those, like 50, 110 or?
50 to, I think it's 50 to 110 or 115. I mean, they're thick.
Monstrous.
And I have the action real high on the neck. You know, I don't like it real close. I've got it real high. And
He's holding up for listeners of the show. He's holding up his fingers, and they're legitimately like an inch thick. I mean, he's building muscle in his hands.
Derek pretty much likes to fight his bass.
Yeah,
He doesn't like to play his bass. He likes to fight it.
We had one run where we played 3 shows in a row, and by the 3rd show, my fingertips were completely raw. I mean, I was bleeding on my bass.
Yeah.
That's not even joking. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no, it ain't your instrument until you bled on it. So
yeah.
All right, man.
Lin, you were gonna say something during that
About the bones.
About the when he was talking about his bass strings and.
Yeah, he is. He's a monster, man. I just repeat what they said. You know, we had a long run, and he will not. He's going to make sure that thing played right, and he wails the shit out of it. And his fingers hurt me just looking at him. I mean, you can almost I mean, that's heavy metal.
that's how he gets through it. He just passes off the pain to the rest of you guys.
Right.
I'll tell you, I was playing 45 105s. I think those are considered mediums. And that,
Medium, yeah, that's a medium.
yeah. But I would usually play 5 string, so I think it's a 115 on the bottom. Yeah, but I noticed you were doing the. Now, are you guys in standard tuning? Is that standard E?
Half step.
Half step?
E flat.
Half step down, yeah. Yeah, that's much easier for me. But like the Blizzard of Oz album, I think, is standard in.
Standard. But then Diary, everything but Sato was E flat.
Yep.
Now he tunes like 3 octaves lower. He's like, the light in the window is a crack in the sky.
Yep, nowadays.
Yeah,
Man,
he's not hitting it.
trashing on Ozzy though. Everyone that's trashing on Ozzy nowadays.
Yeah.
And I went to go see a show. It's just he sounded so much better than I expected. I'll give it to him.
Good, I'm glad.
And to be
still
engaged and touring extensively like that, it's crazy.
That's my hero.
Go ahead.
Stage show is so cool too, man.
Rick says you sound better than Zach.
Huh?
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he still says,
"Oh man,
you sound better than Zach."
that's a pretty high compliment." But
Yeah, just file that one away into the I'm humble and not going to say anything category.
Terry does a really good Zach Wilde impression.
Yeah.
Don't you, Terry?
Oh, yeah. Well, I keep waiting for Max to put on his little dress and come out on stage like Zach.
Most action American.
Oh, yeah.
Like
The squeal.
Yeah.
Wee. If you're listening to this episode, I highly recommend that you follow us and find us on YouTube.
Yeah, because this is definitely one to see.
Yeah.
I think I need to take the head off or something.
But I do want to say something real quick. Just from me to the band. You know, I know I'm the oldest guy in the band and stuff, but I appreciate Lin giving me the opportunity to do this because, I mean, before this, I was just sitting around Nashville doing cover songs, which is not a bad thing.
But you know, because of Lin, I'm getting this opportunity to play these ballrooms and Boathouse Live, and you know, these big, huge stages and stuff. And you know, it's so cool. And it's so cool to be around guys that I've always been the type person when I get in a band, I like to give more than just playing the bass, you know, like flyers and artwork and special set lists and, you know, making our set list look cool instead of just writing it on a piece of paper.
Yeah, look at this. Let me show up. Look, check this out. Our set list, this isn't even one of the good ones. And this actually is my favorite because this was a birthday present when we played with Peter Ford. It says, "Happy birthday, Oz." Awesome. It was my birthday, and Terry framed the set list, and this is on my wall right there. Peter Ford, super fun. But he does a good job with everything. Now we have full color set list. With the audience, they're like, "You have your set list?" They look like, I mean, they look great. Terry's the man. I mean, they all are.
I've just always said, I've noticed after my first show, people were grabbing the set list and wanting to autograph it and stuff, and I'm thinking, man, let's make a set list that makes it worth people having, you know, something.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's cool.
Well, even that,
the set list this weekend looks really cool.
My rat's back here.
Uh-oh, there it is.
Stephen Pearson back there.
But anyway, I you know, it is a pleasure to get to play with these guys, you know, on stage and stuff. And, you know, Lin, thanks, buddy. And I appreciate it. And
thank you. It's a pleasure to play with y'all. Y'all,
you know,
the reason I get to play with y'all.
Same here, brother.
And you know, to have Max and Zach in this band and work as hard as everybody does, you know, it's such a pleasure, man. I just, you know, I've been in bands before where you got guys that are really into it and the other ones ain't, and you know, you got guys that think all they have to do is just show up and play, and that's all they have to do.
Jim and I have had whole episodes concerning those kinds of people.
Yeah, that drives me up the wall, and everybody in this band, once we're off the stage, everybody's still working. You know, they're doing stuff to help promote or getting shows, or you know. So it's really cool, man.
And not only that, but everyone is positive. Not to cut you off, Terry, but everyone, you know, we all really do. It ain't a joke. We all do hit the Waffle House after the show, and we're all hanging out. You know, like even after Terry and you know, Zach hadn't slept for 36 hours, we sat up in, you know, the hotel room till probably 4 or 5 in the morning watching our show. And just saying, okay, here's what we can critique, and hanging out and just, you know, chit-chatting.
Good use of time.
Right. Yeah. Next time you guys are in my area, I'll definitely be there, but I definitely want to hang out afterwards. See what band we is. So I just wanted you to see who was on the cover. This came in the thing today. Jakey Lee.
Yes.
Nice.
Looking good.
That's Max's favorite guitar player, by the way. You know that?
Jakey Lee?
It is.
I love Jake, man, but he tried. All right. So who do you think's better? Let's take a poll right now, Randy or Jake?
He stacked the deck. Look at that.
You know, it's hard because when I'm going to say this, I liked Jakey Lee. I'll just say it.
That's me.
I didn't think, not that I didn't think that Randy was a great player, because he obviously was. I mean, I want to say, what was that, Terry, 80 when Diary of a Madman came out?
81.
81?
Yeah.
So you were 18, I was 17. I mean,
correct.
Hey, Dave, look who's on that page.
Oh, yeah. How about that?
That was our interview the other night, by the way.
Mrs. Smith. Yeah.
That seems like a fun one, man. It's a fun interview.
It was a blast.
Yeah, it was.
Great. She was great.
Wonderful performance artist. I would highly recommend. If you guys got time, check out the episode because it's really good.
That tablet's gonna die. But I wanted to say one thing in case it does. Brandy, Max's mother, is the 5th member for sure. She is. She hates hearing this kind of stuff, but she's a strong woman. She's a go-getter. You will not mess with her, son. You will not mess with her. She will kick your ass. She will kick my ass. She will kick our ass. But she
she's helped me so much with organization and inspiration, and she's wonderful. So I just want to say that we appreciate her as a damn band member.
That was Randy's mother. Yeah.
And we wanted to also congratulate Mr. Terry Hudgens for making Bass Player magazine this month.
Yeah, we saw that. I saw that on Facebook today, Terry.
Yeah.
Saw that too.
I had since I can't never make it on the Bass Player magazine, I just made my own.
Mock that up. So
Yeah.
That's right.
Who knows if it's real or not? Nobody buys magazines anymore, right, Jim?
Right. There's Jake.
Jake.
There's a nice picture of Jake right there.
There you go.
Oh, he's got a fan blowing his hair like Steve Vai.
Right. Man, he looks older than Terry.
Almost. We're just messing with Terry. All right. Before we end tonight,
There's only one more question.
we have to ask this question. So everybody's going to answer it
Okay.
in order. We'll give Lynn last. So let's start with our youngest member, Max. We always ask this question, and it doesn't have to be necessarily with Little Ozzy. What is the funniest or most interesting story you have to tell from a gig that something that happened?
And there's a million. Zach and Terry staying up, man. Of course, all the drunk people. We had this guy at the boathouse would not leave us alone, but I just wanted to kick him out. I didn't even.
Was his name Jim?
And
I was drinking.
I can't really pinpoint one. There's a million.
There was a guy at the boathouse that was drinking hard and.
Oh God.
Dude, he's on.
This guy was my best friend growing up, and I haven't seen him in almost 40 years, and he just showed up. And if it wasn't for the fact that I know everything he's been through, it wouldn't bother me if I hadn't seen him going up 40 years. That's cruel, and I don't really mean that. He was just really drunk when we got there. And I was like,
oh, he was there.
All
Are we going to the next person on the question?
Yeah.
All right, I'll go ahead and go with it. Probably the biggest road story I could tell you, and I'm not going to go into a long story about it, but it was when I was in Archangel back in the 80s. We played at a place in St. Louis, and we were on the 8th floor. And of course, in the 80s, we lived like rock stars, you know what I mean? And my bass tech was in the room with my guitar player and the singer, and they were wasted off their asses, man. But they picked him up and hung him by his ankles over the ledge of the balcony. And I'm like, oh my God, I know it didn't happen to me, but of course I heard about it afterwards. But I was sitting there thinking, man, could you imagine being hung by your ankles by two guys who are just wasted, 8 stories high, and hoping like hell they don't let you go.
He wouldn't have felt it anyways.
Well, it had just been
like
one.
Michael Jackson would do the blanket.
You know what? I think if somebody did that to me, I'd put like a couple soap bars in a pillowcase, and when I saw them go to sleep.
Exactly. But that's probably the craziest, road story I got as far as that goes.
That's pretty wild, man.
What about you, Zach? What have you got?
Probably the craziest thing that ever happened to me. I'm 38 years old. One of the first bands I went out on the road with, I was like 20 or 21. I can't remember. I remember the band was called Playgrind, just a variety cover band. And we went to Denver, Colorado, and we were playing this little club for like 4 days or something. And I think it was the second or third day. The singer and the bass player something had been brewing all day between them where they were about to go at each other. And by the end of the show, everything came to a head. And I'm sorry, it was the guitar player and the bass player, excuse me. And so the guitar player was this big dude, and the bass player was a little small guy, and they were outside. And the guitar player charged the bass player. the bass player happened to have one of my cymbal stands in his hand. I swear to God, I'm not making this up. It's a terrible story. He hit the guitar player in the head with one of my cymbal stands. It knocked the guitar player out, and to the point of doing some serious damage. And an ambulance had to be called, and it actually, I think it cracked this guy's skull, or it did something really bad. And at that point, I was stranded in Denver, Colorado. I had no ride. The guitar player was in the hospital. And
weed was still not legal.
That's right.
I think I was. What's that?
I said weed was still not legal.
Yeah, right. No, not up to that point. So the bass player went to jail, assault with a deadly weapon. The cops came and took him to jail. The guitar player went to the hospital, and it was the guitar player's ride that we had come up there with. He had a Suburban. So I called my parents, and I'm like, hey, I'm stranded in Denver, Colorado. And my parents got me a plane ticket and flew me home, and they were like, yeah, you probably shouldn't go out on the road with a rock and roll band anymore.
Well, that we see you learn from that.
Right.
Yeah, you learn from that.
Yeah. And so to this day, man, I don't even know what happened of that, because, I mean, I really don't know. The guitar player was kind of crazy anyways, and I distanced myself from him. And I knew the bass player had gone to jail, and I just moved on to other things. I'm not really sure what happened from that whole deal. But, yeah, craziest road story right there.
That's a crazy one.
Yeah.
Lin,
what do you got?
Yes, sir. I got a couple crazy ones. You know, it's a lot of stuff happens. You just forget, man. Hey, thank you for having us, brother.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sorry, man. Hey.
Thanks you for joining us.
I mean, you know, one that stands out with me all the time was we played a local show in Richmond, and this was before Terry was in the band, and our old drummer was in the band. And I have a 4-foot bong that's as tall as I am that I will light. I'll have the audience light it on stage before we do Sweet Leaf usually, and they love it. You know, it's as tall as I am, and you know, it's just back, whatever. You know, I can smoke out my mouth. Everybody's like, but someone packed it with really, really good weed and didn't tell me, and it was like the 4th song of the night, and I went up there and I nailed that thing. Kept getting it to a smoke finally got up there, and I was like, when I blew out, my mouth instantly went dry, and I could see the scars for a minute. And I come to find out the owner of the club did that on purpose as a joke. But I was scared because there were cops outside. If a cop walked in here, they're not going to arrest the bass player for Little Ozzy's bomb, you know? So the good thing is I didn't get arrested, and when people were leaving, I got the credit because they were going, that crazy little bastard was really smoking weed on stage. You know, like, I got the credit. Yeah, that was a cool story, I think.
That's a good one.
I had a guy, I kept watching, he was hanging around my water. You know, I had a cup of water there, and I just didn't feel right. And I went over there and got ready to hit it. It was 5 blotters of acid floating around my water. He was trying to destroy me. So they called the police and had him arrested and everything. Got it out of there.
Holy crap, yeah.
I've never done anything like that in my life. You know, that's scary.
That's why I try to, like, Jim, this is an old thing. I've heard this from other people where they've been drugged and have gear stolen and stuff like that. So if I do have something at a, you know, in a venue, like, I try to get water and I make sure it's.
And I don't ever take a drink from somebody. I want you to drink. I'm like, I'm not thirsty.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. So I was watching when Lin would take a drink of water. This guy is true rock and roll, even when he's just drinking water.
Oh, he's just like spilling all over himself.
Well, no, yeah, he comes up and he's like, yeah, he's hitting it, and then he puts the cap on, and then he just throws it on the stage like.
Hey, that turned out good, didn't it, guys?
I gotta tell you. What's that?
I was actually, yeah. I'm glad you saw it that way. I'm glad you saw it that way because I actually made a boo-boo and got pissed off about something I shouldn't have, and I was wrong, and I threw the bottle actually angry, and it played off because it kind of looks like I was having fun with it.
Yeah.
We've all had that moment.
Up there and act like an asshole and throw your water across the stage. You're right, Gaz. You're right, but came out good.
Yeah, it did. I laughed my ass off. My buddy was like, "That was cool." I said, "Yeah, that's probably part of the act." So it worked out pretty well, Lynn. I got to say that.
Thanks.
But yeah, you guys, I'll say this to our audience. Check out Little Ozzy. We'll have the information in the show notes. We'll definitely be watching these guys. I mean, I can see some big things happening with you dudes. You've got the right lineup right here. I'll say that. I mean,
see, the potential is we're not trying to be the best tribute band in the world. You know, the little thing is cool because, you know, we had an opportunity to be the band in Mall Cop 2. Mini Kiss got. But you know, a lot of other things come from this, you know, and other things, parts and movies, whatever. You know, we're just excited because we got a name and we're earning it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to say thanks to everybody for coming on the show, taking the time to answer our questions, and offering up your Tales from the Road.
Well, thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Turi.
Hey.
All right, guys.
I get to go back to work.
Oh my gosh.
So,
right.
so I know we don't usually practice this. We're going to try it again, okay? So, with that all being said, I've been David.
I've been Jim.
This is Max Frye.
Terry Hudgens.
Zach Ballard.
And tonight we have been practical guitarists.
Thank you.
Is there such a thing?